We had a question yesterday in the fun half. A caller was asking, basically articulating, both asking a question, but articulating a dilemma I think a lot of people have, and I certainly have it, because there's a conflation of a lot of different things and over this topic. But the question is, is Hillary Clinton that corrupt? I mean, what's going on there with this? And corrupt in the sense of, more pedestrian corruption, as opposed to sort of broadly speaking, there's a problem with our system of politics, which even someone like, I'm afraid to say, Bernie Sanders is subject to some degree. And how do you decipher between the undeniable compulsion by some in the press to generically try and create a he said, she said, or a she said, she said situation in terms of providing some false equivalency? That's the generic thing. But then when it comes to the Clintons, and particularly Hillary Clinton, because I don't care about Bill Clinton anymore, there is something that goes beyond it. And I don't know the answer to whether or not the Clintons are, more corrupt than your average politician. My guess is no. I think in some respects their attachment to money may be stronger than a lot within the Democratic Party. Not Evan Bayh levels or Joe Lieberman levels, but more so than Sherrod Brown or Elizabeth Warren or but here is an example of a story in the New York Times. And there was that story from the AP the other day that Ryan Grimm rewrote in a much more effective way. But this is a perfect example of the pathology that exists at the New York Times. It's stunning. Eric Lichtblau, writing in the Times yesterday. Emails raise new questions about Clinton Foundation ties to State Department. That, ladies and gentlemen, we're at ground zero now, right? This is the nexus. We're coming out of Benghazi. We've got a hold of the emails, and we're seeing this connection. Was she selling the State Department off? What was going on there? Let me read into this. A top aide to Hillary Clinton at the State Department agreed to try to obtain a special diplomatic passport for an advisor to former President Bill Clinton in 2009, according to emails released Thursday, raising new questions about whether people tied to the Clinton Foundation received special access at the department. Holy cow. A special diplomatic passport. An aide to Bill Clinton, who was not even in the government at that time. Are you kidding me? The request by the advisor, this Douglas Band, who started one arm of the Clintons' charitable foundation, was unusual. And the State Department never issued the passport. Wait, what? So Douglas Band made an unusual request for a special diplomatic passport, and the State Department never issued the passport in response.
Shillery.
What the heck is going on? Oh, I guess they got an unusual request and they said no. Because only department employees and others with diplomatic status are eligible for the special passports, which help envoys facilitate travel, officials said. Huh. Well, that's weird. So in other words, someone asked the Clinton State Department for something, and the Clinton State Department said no because they weren't eligible for that thing.
You see how it works?
Oh, my God.
You see the corruption?
But wait, I know you're all saying, well, wait, that can't be the gist of the story. You're right. There's more. Because this request from Douglas Band came as a function of the former President Bill Clinton being recruited by the State Department to go to North Korea because he could go theoretically as a private citizen, but be seen by North Korea as some type of dignitary, as he was a former president, to help negotiate the release of 2 American journalists who were being held by the North Koreans.
For Al Gore's for Current. That was when it was before it had made over.
Yeah. Okay, Al Gore was associated with Current at that point. And then they tack on the next sentence after they explain that. Mrs. Clinton has long denied that donors had any special influence at the State Department. Now, there's been no mention of a donor in the prior. That sentence just drops in out of nowhere. The exchange about the passport between Mr. Band and Huma Abedin, who was then a top State Department aide to Mrs. Clinton, was included in a set of more than 500 pages of emails made public by Judicial Watch, a conservative legal group. Mr. Band wrote to Ms. Abedin, "Need get me Justy and JD DIP passports, diplomatic passports. We had them years ago, but they lapsed and didn't bother getting them," Mr. Band wrote. Why would Mr. Band want this? Why would he want this? And Ms. Abedin emailed back 6 minutes later. Okay, we'll figure it out. Mr. Band did not explain in the email exchange why he and others needed the diplomatic passports, and Ms. Abedin did not ask. But a person with knowledge of the issue, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said that the 3 men were arranging to travel with Mr. Clinton to Pyongyang less than a week later for the former president's secret negotiations. Mr. Clinton already had a diplomatic passport as a former president. So in other words, these guys said, oh, we're going into a very hostile situation and would like to have a diplomatic passport because we're traveling with Clinton to go on this secret mission. Can we get one? Oh, I'll see what I can do, says Abedin.
So that's basically how they were. Do you see the corruption?
Oh, my God. And then the State Department didn't issue them. So in other words, these advisors went over there without the protection of a diplomatic passport. And they got the release. And traveling with the former president does not convey any special diplomatic status, the State Department indicated in a statement regarding the emails. Quote, diplomatic passports are issued to foreign service officers or a person having diplomatic or comparable status. Any individuals who do not have the status are not issued diplomatic passports. So it appears that Douglas Band thought that he could get a diplomatic passport to make this trip, and he was wrong.
Which illustrates the sort of global levels of corruption of this organization.
It is unbelievable.
All of us feel like we're trapped in a barn fire.
And then the story tacks on. Honestly, that's the end of the story. That's the end of that story. There's nothing else in it. Literally nothing else in it except for, at some point in one exchange in July 2009, Ms. Abedin told Mrs. Clinton, scheduler, that Mr. Clinton wants to be sure that Mrs. Clinton would be able to see Andrew Liveris, the chief executive of Dow Chemical, at an event the next night. Dow Chemical had been one of the biggest donors to the Clinton Foundation, giving $1 million to $5 million, the records show. Abedin arranged what she called a pull-aside from Mr. Liveris to speak with Mrs. Clinton in a private room after she arrived to give a speech, according to the emails. The person with knowledge of this issue said that the email chain also related to Mr. Clinton's North Korea trip because Leveris had offered to let Mr. Clinton use his private plane. So in other words, Bill Clinton asked the schedule to say, make sure that Hillary says something to this guy who is giving us the jet to go on this secret mission for the State Department to get the release of these two journalists. And I can't go in an official capacity, so we can't obviously take a plane, and there's no commercial flights going into North Korea.
So basically, criminals.
Unbelievable.
I find, I mean,
oh, wait, okay.
yeah, you want to keep going
just,
over.
Well, I mean, this is just, there's nothing else. And the idea that this is the same type of crap that I blast people for when they hype bullshit to get their clicks on YouTube. This is the same thing, except for theoretically, this is the paper of record, right? This is the thing that dictates. It's just, it's fascinating to observe. And if this is indicative of the rest of the stuff, unfortunately, this was like so easy to, you need to know nothing. If you read past the headline or past the first two sentences, you start to realize like there's less than nothing here. It's unbelievable. Hello, you. I'm Sam Seder. Looking for smart progressive talk that is occasionally amusing? Well, subscribe to our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our podcast. Like us on Facebook. And just generally enjoy us.